The last touchdown by Purdue bothered me.
Why is that? So give him 10 points?
Yes. I don't like the fact. I know.
It would have been nice if they could have kept him at 3.
Right. And so that's a great thing to be able to complain about. Like, that's the one thing that really bothered me in that game.
That's where we're at now.
I know we are.
We've arrived here.
No, I'm just saying, Bob, 3 to 10 is a mere 7 points. I get it.
It's just the math.
But it's a big number still. It looks a lot different. Now, Ohio State, and we had some people comment on this on Saturday. We were doing the post game, whatever, fan game night, I don't know what we call it now, with me and on Saturday with me and Reeser. And I've seen this word used quite often when describing Ohio State this season. And the word is boring. Now,
it's a great thing.
I will.
That's what my guy T-Bob Hebert said, you know.
But okay, I will tell you this though, Bob.
Talk to Les and his friend just to feel alive. Take a visit to his island.
I think that the better word for Ohio State, as opposed to saying Ohio State had boring wins, I would think that if you say the word uneventful, it changes the narrative.
Sure.
They had an uneventful win against Purdue. There was nothing stood out like, oh my.
Some pretty nice catches by JJ.
Let's get to that.
No,
listen. Here's my take on this, Bob.
When we got tackled and still caught the ball.
Here's your tidbit. Mendoza had his Heisman moment.
Yeah.
Right? Against Penn State.
Yeah.
That was a Heisman moment for Mendoza.
A lot of people watched it, helped him win the game.
Do either of you guys know who caught the pass off the top of your head?
Okay.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. None of us can say his name off the top of our head. We have to think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The great passes that have been thrown this year by Julian Sayin, who's caught them? We all know Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Innes, right?
Sure.
Like, we know that.
We also are a little more probably familiar with that.
Absolutely are. But the pass that Carnell Tate caught, was that against with the two guys on him? Who was that? What game was that against? When he had the two guys in the end zone that Sayin threw the ball?
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Okay. That was a fantastic throw. Like, Sayin put it the one place he could put it, right? But we often, fans, I think, I'm talking in general terms now, think, what a damn catch by Carnell Tate. When Jeremiah Smith makes a great catch on a pass by Sayin, rarely do people say, the narrative is rarely, what a throw by Sayin. It's normally, what a catch by Smith.
People broke down the pass that he threw to Carnell Tate because he had to avoid a rush, get there, reset his feet,
sure,
threw a bullet. Yep. Like, there was a number of people who, especially coaches that work in the media, who leaned in on how impressive it was. The thing is, Julian makes it look so effortless that's why it looks easy.
And that might be why Mendoza could be the Heisman favorite, because I think that we give Mendoza credit for his throws more than, by we, I mean just college football fans. I think college football fans probably give more credit to Mendoza for his throws than is given to Sayin for his throws. And I'm not, and Sayin is every bit as good, if not better than Mendoza. You know what I mean? But like, because of the fact that I think most people give Ohio State the great plays, credit goes to the receiver more so than Indiana. In parts because, yes, we know them. Parts because we talked about them. Yes, parts because Ohio State wide receiver
And Jeremiah Smith has been really good for 2 years. So there's an understanding of who he was. I mean, Julian Sayin didn't play last year, so there was more name recognition. But
sure.
Julian Sayin is also the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. So I don't know how you reconcile those two things. It's not like he is getting the credit he deserves.
Sure. I think he's getting credit he deserves. I think he deserves more credit than he's getting, is what I'm saying.
I think now he is getting it. He wasn't earlier in the season, but he is at this point.
I think you're going to see the comparison be a little bit different between the two. With Sayin, it's a lot more to do with the accuracy that's been consistent.
Sure, right.
And they will always look at Mendoza and just say, well, he took Indiana to a whole different level. The team that wasn't supposed to be this good.
Right.
And he did have his moment. And I think it's judging two different things. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what the narrative's going to be. With Sayin, it's going to be the consistency. With Mendoza, it's going to be what he has done with a program that was supposed to kind of regress a little bit.
When you look at the fact Mendoza had a Heisman moment, he had his Flutie moment this weekend because his team could not put away Penn State. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not saying it's his fault that they were in a close game, but Sayin has not had not an opportunity to do that yet because of the way Ohio State has been uneventful throughout their games. Now, Sayin will get the moments on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and it's why I asked Bill Bender about the Indiana winning. I think it's very important for Ohio State to play Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, for Sayin to have a moment there as well. Maybe and people compare the two. That'll be the best defense Indiana plays all year long, and so that could be what ends up separating Sayin from Mendoza. Bob, as a Heisman voter, and I got to say, former Buckeye, got to put them together.
Yeah.
But who is if you had to vote today, and we don't have to vote till after the Big Ten championship game, but if you had to vote today, would you put Sayin there?
Yeah, I think so.
Think so, Mendoza?
Yeah. I mean, based upon what I've seen and how good they've been.
Right.
I mean, Mendoza's done a lot of good things. The pass was good. The catch was great.
Okay, yeah.
On Saturday. I mean, It was a better catch than it was a throw.
Sure it was, yeah.
So, I mean, I give credit, like I said, and I've been championing Mendoza for a long time, but, Julian saying, I think everybody has been waiting for him to, regress or have a freshman-style moment, and that just hasn't been the case. He has ascended and gotten better and better every week. And so when that ultimately happens, I think people are now beginning to pick up on that. And obviously it'll come up here in about 3 weeks to see how he can play against Michigan. And if both Indiana and Ohio State are undefeated heading into the Big Ten championship, I think that whoever wins that game, because I believe they'll have to play well to win, those two things you won't be able to bifurcate, will win the Heisman Trophy. I'm firmly convinced of that now, unless one of them loses or they get injured over the next couple of weeks. But if they both look as if they have all season long through the first 9, 8, 9, 10 games, and they hold that through, to the Big Ten championship game, I think whoever wins that game will win the Heisman Trophy.
What do you base your Heisman vote on? Who had the best season? Who's the best player? Because I think I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the Heisman voters, I think some have different.
The most outstanding player is.
Most outstanding player.
That's what the definition is.
Okay, I understand that, but like you can put that in different ways, though. I think, I think Jeremiah Smith is the best player in college football.
Everybody interprets it differently,
right? But that's how I'm curious. I just want to hear how you interpret it, though. Like, do you look at? I mean, would you say Jeremiah Smith is the most talented player in college football?
It's a really good question.
Caleb Downs is someone else you could look at and say, that guy might be the best player in college football, but he won't win the Heisman.
No, there has to be a productive element that comes into play with it and your impact upon games as well. And you look at how Jeremiah Smith impacts games, whether he's touching the ball or not, he opens up a lot of things for a lot of people. So, I mean, yes, there's a realistic argument to be made for him. It's interesting because my 3 things before I became a voter, I always looked at like for guys to win when I would want to go back and try to help them pick people would ask me about futures and this and different things. I go, well, I used to always, like, just for argument's sake, like pick a quarterback because that's going to be the safe pick.
Right.
But find somebody who's going to be on a really good team, who's going to probably put up the requisite yards to have the stats that they can flash up there that look like they belong. And then they have to have the ability to have played in big moments and big situations where everybody watched.
Okay.
And so there was a little bit of that like that happened with Mendoza on Saturday. It was a big-time game that he helped his team come back and win, and played really well. Julian Sayin hasn't really had to have any type of – they haven't had any close games.
Right.
And so I also don't hold that against him, and I don't think other people will either because – whenever there's been a big moment, he also in games. You're playing Illinois when they were ranked pretty well, and you played really good in that one. And that's why I think that Indiana game is going to be, assuming that that's the Big Ten championship and both teams are undefeated. I think that will be a de facto playoff because that will be the big time moments that you'll be able to have.
Where's your vote go right now, Big Mo?
I really, not to be a homer, I think it goes to Sayin. But it really is it's so close, and it would have to really depend on weighing out the fact that Sayin is just doing things on a consistent basis with completions that I haven't seen anybody do. But Mendoza, to me, is also doing something that I would have never expected before the season.
Right.
I was completely expecting Indiana to be a good team.
Right.
But probably be a year out from rebuilding to what they were last year. So, but how much of that is coaching? That's the other thing.
Right. I mean, that could work against Sayin.
It could, but I also think you had a more consistent program going into this season from a coaching standpoint, maybe at least on the offensive side with Indiana, because you weren't replacing a coordinator.
Right.
And what we've seen now is we replaced a coordinator, but seem to be at least as good as we were, if not, on offense, probably not necessarily better, but as good as we were. So those are the things. I don't know if everybody would dive into that as a voter.
Right.
But those would be the things I would go into.
Rick S. brought up a good point, that about Flutie. Flutie won the Heisman Trophy over Keith Byers when Byers should have won it. Flutie won because of that pass against Miami. That's why Flutie won it.
100%.
And I don't know, Mendoza, because of where his throw comes, it's in a game they should be winning at Penn State anyway versus end of the season versus conference championship game, something like that.
If Penn State would have been in the top 10, then that would have been
that might have been the Heisman. You're right, yes.
A big difference.
But it's, I wonder if, I still believe, I think Jeremiah Smith might be the best player in college football, and I think that Caleb Downs might be second. Downs won't get the stats. He can't get the stats. It's impossible for Caleb Downs because, one, people aren't going to throw his way.
Yeah.
He gets the Dion treatment sometimes where, Dion never had a lot of interceptions in college because nobody challenged him.
I think if JJ has, the problem is he had that great catch. They obviously they take the penalty because it gives them an automatic first down.
Right.
But if he has a play like that in the Big Ten championship game,
right,
or a play no one's watching that at that point in the Purdue game, and that's just the reality of it.
Right.
So he has to do that against Michigan or against Indiana or whatever it would be to show everybody what he's all about. Where everybody is visualizing it. That's the problem. Is unless it makes the highlight reel, and a lot of times his stuff does, and they speak very glowingly of him. But you've got to make sure that that's on. It's got to be in the highlights because if not, nobody's watching it. And that's the problem with a lot of Heisman voters is they don't try to consume as much as they really need to make an educated, informed opinion.
I think I blocked out the Desmond thing, which is why I probably should have said that also. His return against Ohio State, I think that won the Heisman for him as well. Not that he was the best player that year, but that right there, clinched it for him.
Solidified it. It was a huge game and a huge play.
I know. Anyway, Bob, one of the things, I don't know how you consumed the game on Saturday, but as I'm watching the game, and I had a couple people in West Lafayette, the Buckeye fans, text me and say, hey, what's happening with Carnell Tate? Why isn't he playing? Carnell Tate, why is he not in the game? And it took a while before they addressed it on the broadcast, I think. But he's over there without his helmet, walking around. Yeah. And they finally said he had some tightness in warm-ups.
Yeah.
And they decided to hold him out. And I'm just telling you, Bob, when I see a player unexpectedly on the sidelines without his helmet, the first two things I think of, concussion or discipline. Try to be neither of those things, but that's what I would think,
concussion, the thing was, it was never addressed in the injury report before injury up, whatever they call that now.
Yeah, the injury report. They have to go, the availability. It's called availability. Is that what it is?
Availability report.
That's what it is.
And so there was never any issue with that with him. And that's what people were asking me about. I was like, he looked healthy all week to me. And so, you have some tightness. You hold him out. And a disciplinary thing, I could possibly see that. And you're not wrong to think with that.
Right.
Just, Carnell's had a pretty good track record here. And so for something like that to pop up, it would be kind of surprising the day before a game like that or the day of a game. So that was the other issue that I would have had with it. But like you said, there was no obvious or overt reason to why he was sitting out. So,
right.
Yeah, so people are going to logically start asking questions. And those are the two because they're the two that aren't necessarily visible. Did something happen, on Thursday or Friday night that nobody knew about?
Right.
Or was there a concussion? But he didn't even play in the game at all. So and he was fine leaving the last week's game. So that's the only thing that I would push back a little bit on that.
Here is Ryan Day talking about the game plan without Carnell Tate.
No, No, I mean, what we try to do is we try to, figure out how we're going to attack each game, what we're trying to get done. You could see that the emphasis in this game was to try to get these back some carries and establish the run and continue to work on that. And, when Carnell was unavailable, that certainly changed things quickly on, some of the things that we had. But it was still, for Jeremiah to still have the impact he did, not having Carnell on the other side of the ball, it just speaks volumes to what he does and just how impactful he got. It goes without saying. But when you don't have Carnell out there, it is a little different, and so that does change things a little bit. But good to see Max get some plays, Brandon have an impact on the game, and then the running backs got to do their deal. So, we always want to score as many points as we can, but we also need to continue to improve in certain areas, and that was certainly an emphasis point in this game.
Amazing, Bob, and this is no disrespect meant when I say it. They didn't miss Carnell Tate.
Well, not against Purdue.
Yeah, it's the right call. If you're at all curious, you're playing for the end of November, December, and January.
The first play was a 70-yard touchdown by Bo Jackson. It was called back.
Should have benched Jeremiah
because of Jeremiah not probably being as in tune with the blocking as he could have been early in the down. If he just does his job there at the beginning, it's a touchdown, and no one even says boo about it. And you start the game off with a 70-yard run. An explosive gain. And Bo Jackson, he can roll now. He's looked really good. I thought Isaiah West looked really good again.
Yep.
So it was nice, too, like without Carnell Tate in there, obviously there was more balls that went to Jeremiah, but getting to see Brandon Ennis getting involved, Bryson Rogers making some nice plays out there. Did a good job. Mylan Graham had a nice catch. Could have had another really nice one over the middle that would have kept the chains moving, but you get to see some of those other young receivers that everybody, talks so much about and thinks so highly of, and that's an opportunity for them to get in there and do something.
Here is Ryan Day talking about Bo Jackson.
Yeah, that's been an emphasis point, as you guys know. We've talked about that. I think the short yardage where there was a free guy in the hole and he brought his own blocker. That kind of reminded me of Quinshawn last year. That was a good step for him in the right direction. So, I thought we got better today because I thought they had more opportunities to run. These are young backs that we got to continue to give them the opportunity to grow, and I think we'll get on the film and get better from this game.
They held the ball for 41 minutes in the game. In the second half, I was like, is Purdue even have? I was trying to remember when they had the ball, but Ohio State's 9-13 on third downs. Purdue's 3-9, and they're just sitting there grinding it for 4 and 5 yards a carry every play. And I know that's why people kind of view it as boring. But they went out there and probably tried to score, 45. 50 some odd points, sure.
Right.
But I don't think Ryan had any desire to do that. Like he's trying to, and they subsequently ran, 65 plays and got the heck out of there and got a win.
I've said all along, Bob, and you've mocked me for it, rightfully so, that I wanted to see Ohio State have some adversity to face. And it was good seeing them have to do that 2-minute drill and get the field goal at the end of the half.
That was good.
I like the fact they got it out of the way. That it's not going to be the first time that happens. The next time that happens won't be the first time it happens. Yeah. I'm glad they were able to do that.
And that's a big part of it, Ryan.
Yes.
Talks about working on situational football, whether it's short yardage, whether it's red zone, whether it's 2-minute. Those are kind of three of the bigger issues, third down being one of the others, and working on that while you're winning a game is nice.
Tito.
Yes, sir.
My wife actually was saying during the game, do you think Tito is finally happy that they're getting some adversity? But honestly,
they were down 3-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Oh, there we go.
But honestly, you look at it, this Purdue's defense played a pretty good game.
They did
overall, and we saw some adversity, with the offense, especially because that's where all the questions have been. Is can this offense, if it does get stopped, be able to do what it needs to do? And I think we answered a lot of those questions against a team that was not a superior team or even close to being close to Ohio State. But they did get an interception, albeit probably just a bad throw.
Sure, a bad decision.
They were able to – they blanketed Jeremiah, but we were still able to get him the ball. Mm-hmm. And we did have some – push in the run game, but I think that was the adversity that we need, knowing that we're probably not going to get pushed like that until the Michigan game.
It amazes me how respectful Ryan Day is of the opponent. Ohio State could have scored 60, and they could score 60 almost any game if they wanted to. He was, and while the Ohio State still did work on some things, Ryan Day's always respectful about it. You know what I mean? Like he's not petty like me. Another, by the way, that's the one difference between Ryan Day. That's the only difference between Ryan Day. I'm petty. I would want to hang 60 on every single team. And
he did that early in his career here.
I know. But like now, though, he doesn't.
It didn't help you win a national championship.
Right.
So why would he worry about doing that again? No one cares about how many points you score. It's margin of victory, game control. That's why people get upset. Like, look at Ohio State. They're only winning by 24 points. I mean, they had the ball for 40 minutes.
You know why people are really upset, Bob? Because the line was either 28 or 29 points if you bet it.
Oh, yeah.
And that last touchdown cost bettors. It cost bettors there, the last one going in. And so I think that's probably what bothers more people than anything else.